This is how you have the highest quality sleep ever in your whole life. First, try sleeping to the east or the south in your head direction. I originally saw this in a Sadhguru video. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but he has a lot of good information about meditation and getting good sleep and life advice in general. But basically, the explanation for sleeping to the east or to the south is because the electromagnetic fields of the earth pull to both the poles of the earth. So basically, if you're in the northern hemisphere, there's a gravitational pull pulling all metallic things towards the North Pole. Now, if you're on the southern hemisphere, then you have that same electromagnetic force, but pulling to the south. And obviously, if you're on the equator, both those equal out, and there's no electromagnetic pull at all. But basically, you have iron in your blood, which I hope you know. You have iron in your blood, and iron is obviously magnetic. So if you're in the northern hemisphere, and you sleep with your head facing the north, naturally, that magnetic pull will pull blood up to your brain. And this can lead to disturbed sleep, nightmares, because that blood in your brain is keeping your brain churning, keeping your brain going while you're sleeping. So the smartest thing to do is, if you are in the northern hemisphere, sleep with your head towards the south. That pulls blood away from your brain and effectively turns off your brain slightly more than it already is sleeping. And obviously, if your bed isn't configured in a north-south fashion, the next best is the east. And Sadhguru doesn't really give an explanation for this, but I assume it's because the way the earth rotates around. So that's the first tip. Sleep to the south. That's your first option. East is second best. The second tip I have is to read and meditate before you go to bed, because it kind of puts your mind into that mode of rest. And I'll talk more about where you should read later in the video, but basically, if you read before bed and meditate, the meditation obviously will soothe your brain, get yourself more connected to your brain, which is an added benefit. It'll basically calm you down after a day of doing a lot of stimulating things. And while you're reading and meditating, it's also convenient that in that time you're not going to be looking at any screens, which looking at screens before you go to bed is obviously a bad thing, getting that stimulation, getting that blue light in your eyes. So, read and meditate before you go to bed every night. My third tip is to sleep with a window slightly open and with a fan on. As you can tell, my fan's on right now. I'm about to go to sleep, and my window is very slightly open. Now, the reason it's only slightly open is because you want to mitigate any street or really any noises coming from outside your room. Because even though they might be small, even though you might not even wake up from these noises, they can disturb your sleep, even without you realizing it. So, sleep with your window slightly open to allow fresh air to circulate. The fan obviously helps with that. And make sure it's only slightly, because you want to keep all that noise out and only let air in. Now, the reason you have the fan on, usually pretty obvious, circulates air into the room, circulates fresh air from your window, and also produces some white noise, so your brain... Actually, I don't know why white noise helps, but basically white noise kind of soothes you. It soothes me, at least. And by the way, all this stuff is just from my own personal experience, my own research on YouTube or whatever. So take of it what you will. Now, a big thing that I really love doing, great advocate for this, I'm getting my dad to do this tonight, is to tape your mouth shut in order to prioritize the nasal breathing. Now, I know you might be thinking, What if I, this is what my dad thought. What if I die in the middle of the night because I can't breathe through my nose? That really isn't a problem because it's such a, you just put a small little piece of tape right here just to close your mouth. And if you really need to breathe, just open your mouth like this. And then the tape falls off. Don't put Gorilla Glue tape on your mouth. That could actually be dangerous. But this is to prioritize nasal breathing. Nose breathing has a lot of beneficial factors. First thing, you don't look like a mouth breather. I know there's a lot of negative connotations that come with that. But also, the reason mouth breathers have a negative connotation is because it changes your face shape into protruding your nose forward and shifting your jawline back. As you can kind of imagine, if you're walking around like this all day, breathing through your mouth, naturally that's how your face is going to shape, because that's how you're breathing all the time. Now when you breathe through your nose, your jawline comes up and your nose shifts back, because you're walking around like this all day with your jaw out and your nose breathing. So nose breathing over time can make you more attractive. It also, oh wait. So yeah, breathing through your nose can refine your jaw. It can also relieve you from congestion and morning sickness in the morning, especially sore throat. I've seen, because a lot of times in the past I would wake up with like kind of a sore throat, stuffy nose, and it would just be annoying waking up like that every day when you feel like shit. But then ever since I taped my mouth shut when I woke up, I never had a sore throat, didn't have morning sickness, didn't have anything like that. And this is because your nose filters air. With all the little hairs and mucus in there, that filters the air coming into your body. Now your mouth doesn't have any filtration. So naturally, if you're breathing through your mouth all night, you're breathing in bacteria, viruses, aerial viruses that are just in the air. And your mouth can't filter that. So you could guess why you're waking up with sickness. You're allowing that bacteria into your system through your mouth. Now, another thing that is really awesome about this, which I think is the best part, is that it stops basically from stops you from getting a stuffy nose or runny nose. Because if your body has to breathe through your nose to survive, obviously your body is going to try to survive. And it's going to do that by clearing out mucus and clearing out appendages on that air coming through your nose. So one night when I was sick, I blew my nose, made sure my nose was clear, taped my mouth, then just started breathing through my nose. And my nose tried to congest a bunch of times. It got congested and I had to blow it a bunch of times. But once I fell asleep, when I could finally breathe through, and my nose wasn't congested for a little while, when I woke up, my congestion was completely gone. Basically, just my runny nose gone. And then for the rest of the day, I didn't have mucus in my nose. Even though I was breathing through my mouth for some of the time, breathing through my nose, whatever, there's still no mucus in my nose, even though I was still sick. So that's pretty awesome. Now, what else? Oh, one little story I have about this, actually. When I started doing this, my right nostril always felt clogged by something, and no matter how hard I blew my nose, it would never clear. And I just thought, oh, I have some bone or appendage in my nostril, because that's something that my dad has, because he broke his nose like 5 times. But I thought that it was just something in the way that wasn't mucus blocking my nasal passages, my right one at least. Then the first night I taped my mouth, obviously it was kind of hard because I was only operating on one nostril. When I woke up, I could breathe perfectly out of both nostrils, which is pretty fucking awesome. And now you can see I can breathe through both of them just fine ever since that day. There was like about, I don't even know how long, maybe years, I couldn't breathe out of my right nostril. But that one night that I taped my mouth made a lot of difference. Now my next, it's very windy out. Hopefully you don't hear that. But my next problem is to get a light alarm. It's a little hard to explain. I have one, but essentially it is just an alarm that is a light. So when you wake up, I have my alarm set for 7 o'clock. But when from like 6:30 to 7, the brightness slowly goes up. And it brightens up. And it wakes you up, which is a lot better than an alarm. Obviously, at 7 o'clock, a buzzer goes off to stop from you sleeping through your little alarm. But it's a lot more natural way to wake up. It's how our ancestors did it. They would go to sleep on the forest floor and then wake up to the sun. That's kind of what you're doing here, except with an artificial light, obviously. But that light alarm mimics a sunrise, and it's a much more natural way for the body to wake up. It's led to me feeling more rejuvenated in the morning, a lot better, rather than waking up to an annoying beeping and a pitch black room where you just want to lay in your cozy bed and sleep. So, get a light alarm. This next one, be clean and sleep in a clean bed. This is pretty obvious. Don't be sitting in a nasty bed. Like, what? That's just nasty. You don't want that. Also, sleep in some be comfortable. Make yourself comfortable. Which those two are pretty obvious, but I thought I'd throw them in there. Next thing, make your bed like sacred. Don't sit on it or use it for anything else other than sleeping and reading before bed. Now, it's good to read before bed or read on your bed before bed, because it puts you in that mindset of sleeping. Like, oh, I'm already in my bed. I'm already calming down. I'm just reading this book and then I'll sleep. Meditate and sleep. So only sleep and read in your bed. This will basically just train your mind into associating sleeping and your bed, which is what you want. To let you fall asleep faster. And I don't know, generally just, I don't know the exact science behind it. This is the only stuff I've been doing. But generally just make your mind think, I'm in bed, it's time to sleep. It's time to shut down. So that's really helped me. Next tip is to do things during the day that actually make you tired at the end of the day. I feel like you kind of have to earn sleep. You have to be doing something during the day to make it worthwhile to sleep. Because if you do nothing all day, you just play video games or watch TV or something like that, you're not going to be able to sleep well because you did nothing during the day. So basically, do hard things throughout the day. Do a hard workout. I don't know, really push yourself to your limits. So then at night, you feel good and you fall asleep fast and you stay asleep because your body needs to recover instead of just sleeping for no reason. Your body needs to recover, so it'll sleep as much as it can. And also, don't take naps during the day. Like, this is just dumb. If you're that tired throughout the day, imagine how amazing your sleep is going to be that next night. Don't take a nap and ruin your sleep schedule, which is what I'll talk about next. But don't take naps. It messes up your sleep. Don't do it. Next tip is to have a consistent sleep schedule. This is basically just to accustom your body with the same amount of sleep, going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time. And this really helps you feel better in the mornings, because if your body's used to waking up at the same time, it's not going to be tired after like a week of waking up, going to sleep and waking up at the same time. My body doesn't feel tired anymore in the mornings, even though, I've slept about the same amount in weeks past. That past week where I've had a consistent sleep schedule. I've been good. I've been chilling. I've been feeling rejuvenated in the mornings, which is how you should feel. And even on weekends, you want to do this because your body doesn't know what a weekend is. This kind of goes back to our ancestors. They didn't have weekends. They couldn't stay in. They couldn't sleep in till 10 a.m. or 1 p.m., something like that. They couldn't sleep in. They woke up when the sun got up, and they went to sleep when the sun went down. And it was consistent every day in, day out. They didn't have weekends. They didn't have all that shit. So their body was used to a specific sleeping time. And it leads to actually amazing sleep. Incredible sleep. So don't sleep in on the weekends. Have a consistent sleep schedule. Next thing, keep your room at a cool temperature. Makes you feel nice and cozy under a preferably weighted blanket. This is just because, I don't know, obviously you want to be cozy, but also it allows you to sleep better because you're all warm and cozy and outside it's cold and it makes you want to stay in bed. And if you have a adjustable thermostat that auto adjusts, you could try, this is what my family does. Basically, the house gets cool at night and then in the morning it warms up. So then your body feels it warming up and it naturally wakes up. Because it's hard to stay asleep when it's really hot. So basically, make your room cool and cozy and then try to, in the morning, make your room warmer. Again, this goes back to our ancestors. It got warmer when the sun came up, and yeah, I don't know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. Also, try a weighted blanket. It makes you feel even more cozy, more protected and safe, which will lead to a little bit higher quality sleep because you feel safe. I feel like, well, obviously everyone tells you 8 hours of sleep is good, but I don't know, play around with it, see what's good for you. Maybe you need a lot more. I personally need like 10 hours of sleep every night because I'm a kid and I'm growing and whatever. But that's what helps me feel rejuvenated and good every morning is 9 or 10 hours of sleep. So just find what's good for you. If you're feeling really tired in the morning, even after you do all these things, you keep your sleep schedule consistent. That's very important. Before you go changing around the amount of time you sleep, make sure it's consistent first. And if you're really tired every morning, try upping the amount of sleep you have. Now, if you feel really rejuvenated in the morning somehow, which not a lot of people can achieve, you could try, super energized without coffee, without caffeine. Maybe try scaling down your sleep a little bit. See how low you can go. See how much time of day you can spend not sleeping to still feel good for the next day. And speaking of basically just find the sweet spot. Speaking of coffee or any caffeine, I don't really drink coffee or caffeine. Besides cocaine in the morning, which I really like. That was a joke. Feds don't come after me. But coffee, I feel like coffee and caffeine just kind of mask the underlying problem that you have shit sleep. I mean, if your sleep was perfect, would you need caffeine? No, I don't think so, unless you wanted to be super energized, super hyped up. But if you have good sleep, you're not going to need caffeine. So when you're doing this, try to not drink caffeine and try to find sleep that is actually good for you instead of masking the problem, instead of just putting a Band-Aid over a bullet wound by drinking caffeine in the morning. Second to last thing, or I would say penultimate tip, which means second to last. Keep your blinds open and allow natural light into your room. Now, when I wake up at 7, usually the sun's up a little bit, and having my blinds, or in my case, shutters, open, it allows the sunlight to come in. It allows you to wake up a lot more naturally. Back to our ancestors, obviously. They woke up to the sun, and having the sun in your eyes when you wake up makes your body feel like, oh shit, I gotta get up. I gotta go do some shit. It's just our natural caveman brain thinking that. So keep your blinds open. Allow natural light to come into your room. This last tip, if you're ever questioning something, just think, what would humans do or be doing like 5,000 years ago? That's what I like to think sometimes. They woke up with the sun, they woke up with light instead of an annoying buzzer, and they didn't have weekends to sleep in on. I don't know, just things like that. So if you ever question it, think, what would our ancestors do? But that's it for the sleep. Like if you liked it, I guess. I don't know, it feels weird saying this. But yeah, hopefully you liked it. If you watched this far, I assume you did. And I really hope you get better sleep because of this video.